Hi, this is Pete Saronis, and I am super excited and honored to host episode 5 of On Point Insights. We've titled this one, Branding Inside the Beltway. Our guest is Ms. Taylor Baker, the Human Resources and Marketing Specialist at On Point Consulting. Great to see you, Taylor.
Thanks for having me.
We are super excited, and I always like to start with a little ice breaking of university or alma mater. Radford University, the Highlanders or Highlander, Rowdy Red way back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. And for those watching, rated the top mascot in 2018 when you graduated in the NCAA tournament. So that's pretty darn cool. But more importantly, Taylor, you've been with On Point since 2018. Obviously, we're going to break into some of your approaches and strategies and thought leadership around just communication internally and then externally inside the Beltway. But yes, graduated from Radford University, studio creative arts, concentration in oil painting, minor in business advertising, marketing. I think that will be something that will be something we explore that influenced your passion. Big fan of the Caps and the Nats. I dig it. I'm a Phillies and an Islanders fan for what it's worth. And working with and engaging with people and building trusted relationships, I know is a very important thing that you care about. So with that, what did I leave out? Tell us a little bit more about you and your passion working at On Point and just your professional and personal journey.
Yeah, so you really hit the nail on the head on everything that I love to do. I've always been a very creative person. I did a bunch of art in college and I do it as a hobby on the side. I really feel like it's kind of interesting. I tell people, what I do, and I really actually did what I studied in college into my career. So it's really nice to, do marketing, do art, and get a feel for what I do creatively into my job. So it's really great. Again, I feel like I do a lot at On Point. I create logos. I help with designing this webinar series, editing these videos. I help with web design. So I just created and rebranded our On Point website. So go check that out as well. That was launched in October. And yeah, it's fun just to learn every day and try to put myself involved in these projects as much as I can.
No, that's great. And that frames a lot of what we'll get into. Myself being a former federal employee, a civil servant, now running Dots and Bridges, I have to do my own version of marketing and branding and public relations and how they're all intertwined and how they're different. It's kind of an on-the-job training for me. And I probably need a Taylor Baker person helping me kind of move the needle. So I appreciate that you have that background and that passion. And hey, it changes every day, right?
Yes, every day.
Cool. So let's dive into a little bit of that, right? We're in the Beltway, Washington, D.C., largest purchaser of technology in the world. It's around $93 billion a year. You've got great leadership in Tim Smith. You've got an incredible culture, as you shared in some of our prep calls, the people and the uniqueness of the company. But it's competitive, right? Working in the Beltway and marketing oneself, what are some of the things that, if each day is a little bit different, you're trying to accomplish, from your brand to what makes you special? Those are things you must have to work on every day and require the help of your team.
Yeah. So again, to be honest, coming from an art creative background, it's interesting that I'm working now in a federal government, IT company. So I'm learning a lot about branding my own self and branding the company as much as I can. So, again, trends change all the time. I really have to do my homework. I have to figure out what's going on in the world, whether that's looking up articles or meeting people at conferences that, can give me more insight on what's going on. And it's a never ending process that I'm just constantly learning about.
Yeah, you hit on trends, which we know change daily. The news dictates a lot of that, and then technology being able to support it, I think is is a great storyline. I do a lot of that, which is, why do I need this tool and what's it going to do to help, my company, help my customer? And obviously your customer being the federal government, you have a lot of options there. I know Tim Smith talks a lot about vision and frameworks around topics like zero trust and cybersecurity. And when he can get to the point where he can say, for example, we at OnPoint do the following, a lot of those stories are rooted in the trends. And I love your reference to doing your homework, because you are the machine that provides a lot of that, I would imagine. Is that I capture that pretty well?
Yeah. I mean, again, I get as much information as I can from my team members, learning, what's going on, but I do have to do homework. I have to read up on the latest, anything that's coming out in the government, federal government.
I think, can you kind of help us understand a little bit from that point you made about, I don't know how many companies have a communications or marketing specialist. I mean, mostly, from what I understand, big companies have marketing, arms of their organization. And sometimes those marketing entities aren't even inside the Beltway. They fund the efforts internally because the messaging is different, right? Inside of DC.
Yeah. So again, I mean, we're a pretty small company. So, I consider myself the lead of the marketing role. And what's nice though is everyone is really accommodating to helping me out. And, again, branding and marketing is not just a one person job. Everyone in the company has to help me out and, give me ideas and new trends. And, again, the plan is always changing. So I'm actually currently working on that right now, a strategy to help brand us even better, get the name out. And, the whole team is helping me out on that. So it's not just like a one person job. It's an everyday thing.
Sure. Now that's you needing content, I would imagine, that you can curate, right? If one of your colleagues says, hey, I'm working on a project for a customer that needs some cybersecurity expertise. I want to align it with, say, an executive order. You're not meant to be the expert per se, but extracting that insight from your colleagues and turning it into something you can post, you can promote. I know that's not simple. That entails you sitting with your colleagues and learning some of it without trying to be the expert, because I think we all know that nobody can be the smartest person in the room all the time. How does that dialogue working with folks happen? It can't just be everybody sitting around waiting for you to call, but you're kind of like a, hey guys, gals, we need this information. I need some time with you so you can curate the content. Fair to say?
Yeah.
That?
And I mean, we have our weekly meetings and we discuss, what are trends, what's going around, what's the newest data, what can we do to promote ourselves, talk about that, promote ourselves. Hey, OnPoint specializes in this, and this is what we can provide for you. And, talk about our past performances and just stuff like that. So again, it's an all teams on deck type of project and type of approach.
Okay, so one of the things we talked about prior to us going live and having this conversation was, marketing, branding, public relations, regardless of the definition. Sometimes it's using social media to just put a blog out, tracking the likes, doing lead gen, and putting on my sales funnel hat. As when I was in government, I didn't sell, but now that I'm out, I understand that there are things that looking at my cheat sheet here, how the sales funnel stage works, from awareness to interest to decision to action, and all that is part of a training regimen for people who sell. I think of OnPoint, having done some research, is you're selling your brains. You all are in my view, a strategic, operational, tactical group of folk that understand how it all has to work together, from the tech to the customer problem, et cetera. I guess what I was trying to get there with is you mentioned that you're kind of in the midst of an approach, a framework, a strategy, and you highlighted a little bit, but put on that hat of a year from now. I mean, this is not something that will be static, right? Let's assume you had a strategy and approach. I mean, do you see this as a dynamic process with your organization? And do you hope that this is a living, breathing artifact that you can work towards every year?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it can be changing each month. I mean, I think it's something that we need to look at as frequently as possible. You know, what is new? What do we need to change? What isn't working? And that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out right now. You know, like, what are we trying to sell? What are we trying to promote and, you know, advertise to the federal government, as well as how are we branding our own selves out into the world? Because again, it's all about relationships and networking and building connections. And, you know, I feel like, you know, when I'm going to conferences or attending any events, I try my absolute best to meet as many people as possible, give them business cards, you know, discuss personal um, things with them. And, you know, it's just all about how you build those connections. And it's fun for me to do personally. I really enjoy talking to people. So I really enjoy that. But I know some people aren't exactly like that. So it's a learning process.
So let's go there. You are Taylor Baker. I don't know what your Myers-Briggs is. I will say that mine is ESFJ, and most people say, no surprise, you're an extrovert, even though that has nothing to do with, you know, my passion for, I'm like you. I love talking to people and getting to know people. I take away that personality trait or traits of yours are well suited. And I think that's important part of a company, you know, that doesn't have a bunch of probably ES or whatever extrovert types. You need to be out there and engaging and building that trust. I think of something we talked about where how you market will distinguish uniqueness, but also branding and truly being what you're branding will help that cultivation of a partnership. So that being said, let me go here. This is off the cuff, so it's a hardball coming at you. Given your personality, and I'm going to assume On Point has a mix of that, do you find that to be something that is not a challenge, but to get folks to think about the brand or the message, something you are guiding them to think about, or they are learning to think about it? Because somebody like you needs to, I think, inform individuals as to the value of putting a blog or a share on LinkedIn or a tweet out there. Talk a little bit about that extraction, and then of course you go in and make it happen.
So it's definitely, it can be a challenge at times, you know, because I'm not going to force somebody to do what they feel maybe uncomfortable doing. You know, not everyone is suitable to go to conferences and they don't really want to speak to a bunch of people, or, you know, whatever, vice versa. But, you know, I try my best to just explain that to people that, I mean, at the end of the day, it really is about who you know. You know what I mean? I mean, I got my job at On Point because of who I knew. I knew someone that knew somebody who got me in working here. And, you know, it's really about those relationship building processes. And I mean, actually, one of the reasons I love working at On Point is because everyone is so different.
Forced, I thought, was a great point to do that. Heck, there are things I love to do and things that I just wish I could do. And there are things that I'm like, stay away from me. I don't want to do that. But you know, it's interesting when you can find the yin to someone's yang, or yin to their yang, what have you. Hey, listen, I love the focus on relationship building. I love this emphasis on trust and your little tapestry you over there of how you ended up at On Point. That's awesome. And the eclectic nature of an organization. So that was, in those comments, something that stuck with me. And I love the all hands on deck and approach that I applaud you and I commend you for taking this blank canvas essentially at On Point and painting your masterpiece, okay, which is going to be a living, breathing, not paint by numbers, but have a Taylor Baker imprint on it. Here's a phrase I like to talk about, though, and let's maybe bring it back to the Beltway and this nature of the Beltway, which is so much information, so much technology. Here's On Point. There are other consulting entities that do things really well. And there's On Point, but I always feel like it's a very fine line between what makes someone unique and how you market that or communicate that out. And folks like an easy button. And I don't think there is an easy button. Sure, there is, literally, but also, hey, I'll go hire somebody to do that. I think building what you're building and hiring you is a very important ingredient, which will be that tipping point for On Point. So my question, framing it this way, is how do you compete in the Beltway? Do you see what others do and try to replicate at times and then make it your own? Or is it, I want us to sound different, look different, feel different with the content that, again, you are generating and pushing out? How do you approach that with such a crowded Beltway of marketers?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm learning every day. I would say, the probably professional response would be to look at other companies, see what they're doing, which I do. But my personal approach would be to make us look as unique as possible. I want us to be different. I want people to look at On Point and be like, wow, they really stand out. They are very different than a lot of just the general contractors in the federal government. They really have a brand that I remember. And that's what I try to do. And maybe that is just my own personal, side to it that I put in to that. But that's what I try to do personally. I try to even make posts sound really upbeat and exciting, something that people want to see. And I feel like I do put my personality a lot into, marketing and all that stuff. But that's just the approach that I do.
Well, yeah, but that's, I think, the point of, when you want to market, some people think of it as like marketing is about generating leads. It's very surgical. I don't disagree with that, but I also think, okay, maybe in that moment. And then branding, I like to say, is more of an evolutionary. I should know. I mean, dots and bridges. What is it? Well, one day it's this, another day it's that, but in reality, it's a lot of stuff. And right. I want people to remember the logo and the name and go, and, On Point is a great name. My son, my youngest, loves green, so I'm a fan of the color green too. But I loved what you said. And I again, as we're getting to the end here, and I can't wait for some parting shots from the wonderful Taylor Baker, is just this, I sense you wake up every day and you may have a trend you were made aware of or a strategy you're working towards, but having that eye on the world is changing. Technology's become such a part of our life. How we secure it, getting back to On Point's, what I think uniqueness is its ability to understand the customer's needs, right? The personalization of the customer. So why don't, before we go to parting shots, why don't you brag a little bit maybe about your leadership, some of the things that you love about working for Tim Smith, who I know is a Beltway well-recognized thought leader, but his personality seems to project a lot of what you're curating, again, to use the term 3 times now, about the brand of On Point. What's it like working for Tim and the leaders at On Point?
I can't even explain. I literally love working at On Point. I tell my parents all the time, and they love On Point too. I mean, my friends and family know the logo. It's all over our house. We have swag everywhere. And, I think working for great leaders is just probably the best part, because Tim is great. We get along wonderfully. We go to events together. We have fun. He's taught me a lot about how to be a leader. And my boss, Samara, is amazing too. I feel like there's a lot of wonderful people that have, shaped me into who I am today, and continue to help everyone else in the company. I mean, everyone helps one another out. And I've never felt in any way, I don't know, disrespected or anything. I've always felt like an On Point is like a home to me. And
well, hey, listen, it's like family. right? It's like
Yeah.
family. And you know, from my time in government, it was also, I miss having that person or many persons every day I get to go see. I mean, I have Zoom and I have folks in my office, but it's different. And I like that. I think that speaks to your extroversion as well. And of course, shout out to everybody at On Point. Clearly, there's a mentoring component, a coaching component. Knowing some of the people at On Point, I would just amplify your message that what a wonderful opportunity to grow, because one day you'll do something or you'll work On Point forever, but most likely you'll take these learnings and go do great things elsewhere. And I think it's just a testament to you, your passion. And my parting shot there on that segment was that the technology relationship to the culture of a company, to how it impacts, in this case, the government, our constituencies, our country, is something that On Point clearly values and tries to project. And you're doing such a good job with that. And it's great to hear that the process is in flight. It's dynamic, not a static kind of thing. All right, well, listen, I could talk to you for hours because I can learn so much more. And I'm just sitting here like closing this out. If you can leave something, right, from this discussion today, for anybody who watches this or on demand in the future, what would you want to leave with them? Maybe it's somebody coming into this business saying, I want to be Taylor Baker when I grow up, or just, you know, what you think someone should know in terms of how you approach your, you know, your day to day. What would that parting shot be?
That's a good question. I would say just be yourself. And, you know, remember that there's always people that will help you, you know, yeah, have a mentor, someone that you can, you know, talk to that can help you grow. And just remember that every day something is new in the world that's changing. And if you're going to be in this business, then you have to get with the program. Basically, you have to know that, you know, this is how the world is, and you can't stick with your own ways. You have to be evolving and be open to new things and developing yourself, and just have an open mind, a mindset. So I try to do that all the time. And, you know, again, I take a lot of my employees' feedback, and I just try to do the best that I can and grow as much as I can.
Well said. I mean, I would say that anybody watching would say, yes, yes. And it doesn't stop, because everything you were saying, I'm like, I feel that way now. At 54 years old, I've had many mentors, coaches, and still do. And some aren't even on this earth anymore. They're up in heaven, and they're reminding me that, hey, you know, it takes a village, it takes humility, it takes curiosity. And I think both On Point and yourself are, you know, on a trajectory to do great things. So Taylor, again, an honor to get to talk to you, the machine of the marketing machine behind On Point. And I look forward to more episodes with you and with your colleagues, and to help in my own way, shape, and form get that word out that On Point's a company to be reckoned with.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. And everyone, please subscribe on our YouTube channel, On Point Insights.
I love it. You know, you're the first person that's ever done that on a closeout. Hey, great stuff, TB. And we'll talk again soon.
All right. Sounds good.